episode of Lovin Daily. I am David Gokropari, and with me today is Julian Bonnici. These are your headlines for the day. More exchanges have been revealed between YORGEN FENECH and Minister Edward ZAMMIT Lewis. Joseph Muscat used his interview to give YORGEN FENECH legal advice, Jason AZZOPARDI has claimed. Prime Minister Roberta Bella has confirmed that Malta plans to open all schools this scholastic year. A man has been arrested following an argument which left his victim lying in a pool of blood after BIRKIRKARA stabbing late last night. And GŻIRA mayor has claimed that his PL district rival has used dirty tactics to after his uncle criticized him over rubbish. Julian.
Yeah, our first story, Edward ZAMMIT Lewis is back in the news yet again. After it's been revealed that Malta's Justice Minister used to reach out to YORGEN FENECH for jobs for his voters and constituents, with the last message being sent in September 2019. That's almost 2 months or so before YORGEN FENECH was arrested with the murder of Daphne Caruana Galizia. At the time, it should also be made clear, FENECH was revealed to be the owner of 17 Black, that's a Dubai-based company linked to alleged government corruption for many, many years. So basically, the Times of Malta reveal, so ZAMMIT Lewis, allegedly reaching out to YORGEN FENECH for these jobs. The last time came soon after he was just reinstated into cabinet as the European Affairs Minister, and these kind of requests stretch back all the way to 2014, while he was serving as Malta's tourism minister. So on ZAMMIT Lewis's part, he actually hasn't denied the claims, actually, kind of defending it, saying it was completely normal practice. And he sort of said, listen, politicians are representatives of the people, and it's a politician's duty to find its constituents and its voters work, whether it's in the public or private sector. This is not, obviously that sounds really weird, this is not the first time ZAMMIT Lewis has sort of entered into hot water with his relationship with YORGEN FENECH. He called Labour's party supporters stupid. He even sycophantically used to message him, being like, listen, I miss you, please message back, even though YORGEN FENECH wouldn't reply. And he even mocked the 17 Black inquiry in messages to YORGEN FENECH. Still, ZAMMIT Lewis remains Malta's Justice Minister. Quite frankly, he should be under investigation right now for a trading in influence investigation, and hopefully charged for it. Instead, he remains our Justice Minister. Roberta Bella refuses to take action, despite the fact that ZAMMIT Lewis is going to be the man really responsible for carrying out major reforms to Malta's judicial system. Make of that what you will. I don't know what's taking Roberta Bella so long to take action. To be honest, if he fails to do so and fails to continue to do so, then maybe it's Roberta Bella who should shoulder responsibility for this inaction.
Yeah, I mean, ever since, ZAMMIT Lewis's name started cropping up in the last couple of weeks in the news, it kind of started off as like this comical friend zoning, and then you kind of saw that, oh, it's actually quite pathetic, but now it's turning quite sinister, where it's always been quite worrying, but I think what's the most worrying is that in the last 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, ZAMMIT Lewis's name has been, cropping up in increasingly sinister news, considering that this is the Justice Minister we're talking about, and it seems like no end is in sight. Meanwhile, Jason AZZOPARDI has claimed that former Prime Minister Joseph Muscat used his recent Times of Malta interview, the 2-part interview which ended yesterday, to give YORGEN FENECH legal advice. Daphne Caruana Galizia family lawyer and PNMP Jason AZZOPARDI took to Facebook to say that the more I think about what Muscat said, the more convinced I am that he's part of a diabolical, orchestrated and Masonic plot. AZZOPARDI drew some comparisons to what Alfred Sant had done to discredit Zepp Il-Hafi after he was given a presidential campaign to testify on the Richard Caruana Galizia stabbing, and AZZOPARDI claimed that Muscat is doing the exact same thing, this time with Melvin Teuma's testimony. Of course, as with everything that involves Muscat in recent years, the 2-part interview was very divisive, a lot of claims were made. Of course, whether you think it was an incredibly shining beacon of Muscat's legacy, or yet another, yet another reason to dislike the former Prime Minister, a lot of things were said. and it seemed like most of them were centered around Muscat taking, swings at the credibility of the public inquiry which was recently published. No surprises there. I mean, this is the same public inquiry that found the state culpable of creating a state of impunity that permitted the assassination of Karol Galizia in its own words. So of course, Muscat was always not going to be a massive fan of that. He took a number of digs and a number of different tactics to do this. One of them was, for example, making reference to Joseph Sait-Pullicino, who is a former Chief of Justice and also 1/3 of the Public Inquiry Board. Muscat made reference to an article which was published by Labour lawyer and former Labour Deputy Leader Joe Brincat, who claimed that Sait-Pullicino had already condemned the state's links to the Karol Galizia murder on behalf of the Ombudsman in a 2019 report. So Muscat claimed that, Sait-Pullicino's stance had already been made quite public, and they just partially copied, and reproduced that point in the public inquiry. He took another dig at the public inquiry later by saying that they wrongly quoted something that he had said behind closed doors, saying that he didn't really say it in open court, and that what he meant when he said that he was angry that these alleged killers were informed before the arrest was that he was worried that more people could have died. One last thing that he said, Muscat, in this interview, which kind of also attacks the public inquiry, is something which he's been saying for a very long time, even back when he was Prime Minister, that this could prejudice the criminal case against YORGEN FENECH. Of course, AZZOPARDI was clearly not very happy with the interview, and he also added another claim saying that Joseph Muscat is helping YORGEN FENECH in preparation to open another constitutional case, this time involving a foreign lawyer who had represented Gaddafi. So the plot thickens.
Yeah, no surprises with the interview, really, to be honest. I mean, just a bit of a personal note, it was all a bit lackluster. We had been waiting for sort of a Joseph Muscat interview on an independent platform for years. And really, I personally think, he was able to escape with a lot of scandals and a lot of issues left unaddressed. Unsurprisingly, Joseph Muscat, who's probably spent most of his time, delegitimizing Malta's entire political process, so to delegitimize the process moving forward as Malta goes to justice. As Joseph Muscat said in the interview itself, this government of today is still his government, so maybe Robert Abela should really step out, make a strong comment. He's seeing somebody sort of delegitimize an institution, something which Robert Abela has actually taken responsibility for, in a press conference in the nation. Yet a few weeks later, his predecessor, who, they say, sort of helped back, Robert Abela to his election. But Robert Abela, even himself, said he's a continuity candidate. It's time for him to stand up and maybe, sort of nip the issue in the bud completely. On to our next story, sixth forms, university, MCAS and all other educational institutions will be welcoming back their students this scholastic year. This came after Prime Minister Robert Abela made an announcement on One Radio. However, he really stressed that plans could change. COVID is a fluid situation, and depending on the numbers, schools and other educational institutions could close in the coming months. Just a bit of a tongue-in-cheek comment. I mean, we've sort of seen what the government has backtracked on so many plans over the last few months. So, as much as it's a really hopeful step in the way forward, I'm still, a bit cautious and not getting too optimistic. Abela explained, teachers at the moment are fully vaccinated. Students are on the process to getting vaccinated. So really, things are really looking up for us to start reopening, quite a crucial part, sort of Maltese society. University, MCAS and other educational institutions have been closed since the start of the year, since there was a spike. So at least this is, at least a move in a positive direction and at least a return to normality. However, I have to say, I'm sure the decision to reopen a lot of these educational institutions will raise a lot of questions, particularly people who work in the event space, right? Because I can't understand how the government can sort of justify, opening up an institution which sees literally thousands of people walk through its doors every single day and not allow a 100% standing event, for example. So there's going to be some major questions there for the government to reply, and we'll see sort of what's going to happen in the next few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. I mean, it's definitely a step in the right direction to open schools. We're on the way to normality. The Delta variant has, wreaked havoc in a lot of countries, but it seems like, thankfully, back in Malta, the situation has stabilized, definitely due to the fact that we're over 92% vaccinated. So, everyone and their mother is vaccinated at this point. Students are on their way to being vaccinated, so I see no reason why by the time they open, by the time that the scholastic year starts, they should open. At the same time, event organizers and their potential attendees have been vaccinated for months now, so what's the hold up? Why not open? And as someone who is involved in the sector, it's been months now of hurt and loss and of sacrifice. I think it's time that we also, kick off that road to normality. Meanwhile, a man has been arrested following an argument which left his victim lying in a pool of blood after a BIRKIRKARA stabbing. This is a latest headline that was first reported about last night, but had some new developments early this morning. So the incident happened at around 7:30 p.m. on Valley Road in BIRKIRKARA. It was initially reported it was at a local band club, but it seems like it was in the vicinity of that band club and actually happened in another establishment. There was definitely a heated argument because a 27-year-old man from Insida was stabbed with a sharp object and he had to in fact be rushed to hospital. Another man who allegedly was involved in the argument fled the scene. A police search was launched and it was reported that up till 9 and 10 p.m. last night the police were still searching for the alleged aggressor. But this morning, the police revealed that overnight, the man who is believed to be the aggressor, a 30-year-old man who is a Orme resident, was arrested, is in custody, and is currently at the Florina Police Headquarters lockup. An investigation is still ongoing, but I mean, this is definitely not even the first example of a heated argument or even a stabbing this summer. I don't know what's happening, whether it's the heat wave or whether it's this constant tension that we have surrounding us, but something is definitely happening.
Yeah, another shocking incident on Malta Street. I think stuff hit the nail on the head, right? I'm not really sure what's going on, but there seems to be tension brewing on Malta streets, and it's super important, for the government to actually start taking action, start addressing these concerns very seriously. Just saying we're going to improve police presence is not enough. We need to start addressing the core of these issues. Because until, somebody gets hurt, actually as in seriously hurt and dies, and then everybody has a national tragedy on their hands and everyone's very sorry, and the same old cycle, no action is taken, and then another incident happens, nothing is addressed. So, it's really time, to take concrete action. On to our last story, speaking about tension and heat, it seems the election season is alive and kicking, with internal party rivals already engaging on petty Facebook squabbles online. This came after GŻIRA Mayor Konrad Boczman accused new PL candidate Rebecca Buttigieg of engaging in dirty politics. This came after Boczman wrote a post on Facebook, saying, listen, there's a lot of rubbish near a particular waste bin in a different locality, and somebody else commented saying, listen, before you start commenting on our locality, go and fix yours. Boczman noticed that this man was the uncle of Buttigieg and somehow interpreted the whole scenario as a dirty politics game, with the pair engaging in a little, quite a petty really, Facebook comment section argument, with Boczman sort of telling this man that, listen, Buttigieg works with the Home Affairs Ministry, if you have a problem about enforcement, go and speak to her. That wasn't enough. Konrad Boczman actually issued a whole status on the subject, sort of decrying, dirty politics and saying how Buttigieg is using her uncle and her family members sort of disparage his work and the work he's doing. Make of the argument yourself what you will, literally you can read all about it on lovinmalta.com. However, it does seem, very clearly that at least people within the district's Labour Party candidates, mind you, seem very well aware that an election is coming, and they're doing all that they can, to sort of get ahead, to get that seat, that MP seat they're all fighting for. Now, Roberta Bella on his part has constantly insisted, that that the government is going to last its full 5 years, its full legislature. However, seeing the way these two candidates were acting online, particularly Buttigieg, because Buttigieg hasn't commented yet, makes me think, that it really is round the corner and that October-November rumored date is actually on the cards.
Look, I mean, I feel like there's two facts at play here. First of all, Malta is so tiny that you're always bound to have an uncle or a cousin who's compromised or politically connected and all that. But second of all, I think whether we like it or not, I frankly don't, there's going to be this increase, going forward of these petty squabbles, these politicians are just like us, therefore they have a Facebook account and they get into these stupid arguments. But at the same time, whether this election happens in 2021, what's left of it anyway, or 2022, here's hoping that we really do better as a country. Anyway, that brings us to the end of this news bulletin. Have a good, on behalf of Julian and myself, have a day full of lovin'.